Hey, sit down. Yeah, y'all better sit down. We're about to start class here, and y'all standing up looking like fools. Take out your pencils and papers. Hope y'all brought some apples, because y'all gonna need it after. Hey guys, Pig Cake here. Today we're gonna start a little bit of a new series on Patreon where we're gonna talk about the history of Magic. That's right, the history of Magic. And of course, this being the Pig Cake Card Academy for now. We're gonna talk about the history of the humble playing card. That's right, the history of playing cards, especially the history of playing cards in association with prestidigitation, otherwise known as out of focus magic. So today we're going to talk about the history and the whereabouts and the origins of playing cards and their use in Magic. So hopefully you guys learn some theory as well as some history to accompany your learning of sleight of hand mastery. Oh boy, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what's inside. You like that? Do you like that transition? Even though the transition is to this exact same scene, I just thought I'd insert that there to increase production value. So the first set of playing cards were thought to have been invented in China in the turn of the 12th century. And those cards looked a little bit like this. Oh, wow. It almost seems like they magically turned into an older deck. Now, of course, it goes without saying that absolutely everyone knows that the convenient coincidences among a deck of cards and the calendar cannot be ignored. So you have 52 days in a year, you have 52 cards in an ordinary deck of playing cards. You have 4 seasons, you have 4 suits. And you also apparently could add up all the individual pips on the playing cards and you will reach the number 366 or 365, I'm not sure which one. But I know that it's near the amount of days that are in one calendar year. However, playing cards have not always been the same way that you see them in the humble deck of illusionist playing cards today. As a matter of fact, the original suits were goblets, gold coins, swords, and polo sticks. It wasn't until 15th century in Germany where card makers decided to change the suits up a little bit and use acorns, leaves, hearts, and bells instead of the aforementioned suits. So it wasn't until the 15th and 16th century that we had a deck of cards that resembles what we have today. However, you got to keep in mind that each and every single deck of cards until then was handmade. So decks of cards were traditionally left for the wealthy or those with a lot of money because it was very, very hard to come across. Each and every single card had to be painted and drawn individually until various methods for press were invented so that card makers would just have to press the cards on indented pieces of wood or eventually indented pieces of rock in order to print cards. Now, of course, that's the history of playing cards themselves. However, in conglomeration with Magic, we have good evidence to support the fact that Charles V was shown some card tricks by a magician known as Dalmau. Dalmau was a Spanish magician at the end of the 16th century, which tells us that at least from then, there has been indication that people have been using card tricks as a form of entertainment. Now, of course, we know in Discovery of Witchcraft by Reginald Scott that card magic was very available then and something that was played around with. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, Discovery of Witchcraft is a book that came out in 1584 by Reginald Scott, and it was pretty much an expose of early modern witchcraft. Now, of course, in that book, they had some very rudimentary card tricks, even some card tricks that could be adapted to modern use today. Now, as far as modern Magic, we have 2 magicians that have been very, very influential in the upbringing of people such as Ed Marlowe, Di Vernon, and Cardini. And those 2 magicians are Jean-Eugene Robert Houdin and Hofzinser. So Robert Houdin was actually a clockmaker, and by the time he was in his 20s, he was pretty much into the business full time, as well as building scale illusions for close-up work. Now, he was distinct because he was able to bring a certain standard and a certain attire into the magic community that wasn't seen before. Usually magicians were dressed very flamboyantly. You had magicians taking up characters, whereas Robert Houdin, he really played the role of the modern gentleman. He's actually known as the father of modern magic for his abilities with cards and close-up magic. Now, the other guy, Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser, which is best known today for the Hofzinser Ace Problem card trick. He was around in the same time as Robert Houdin. However, he was based out of Vienna, where Robert Houdin was based out of France. And he is known as the father of modern card magic. You see people like Di Vernon, who is one of the more modern authors and prolific Magic creators. He's the one that really brought up the point of Hofzinser as a wonderful card magician, and one that pretty much was influential in what we know as card magic today. In the late 1800s, we had a magician known as Cardini. Cardini was very well known for his billiard ball and card manipulations, as you could see here in this video currently playing next to me, thanks to the power of modern editing. Now, Cardini really brought a class and a level of artifice and manipulation when it came to actual card sleights and moves. So whereas card manipulation isn't as popular today as it was in the 80s and 90s, a lot of those moves could be attributed to this wonderful gentleman right over here. Now, of course, in the modern times, and by modern times, I mean above the 1900s, we have several books that have been influential in the progression of card magic. There's Expert at the Card Table, which was in 1902, written by the ever elusive S.W. Erdnase. There's also my favorite, which is Expert Card Technique, written in the 1940s by Heegaard and Brouwer. And of course, we can't ignore the works of Ed Marlowe and Di Vernon. Now, Ed Marlowe was a magician out of Chicago, and he, during the 50s, 60s, 70s, all the way until his death in 1992, was extremely influential in the card magic world. You'd have stories of inner circles of magicians trading card moves, and moves today that we take for granted, but can be attributed to this man over here. The common joke among magicians is that if you don't know the origin of a card trick or a card move, just say Ed Marlowe, and you're pretty much going to be as good as gold. Now, it's interesting to see the dynamic of card magic, as a lot of the moves have been adapted from the gambling world. And by gambling world, I don't mean legit gambling, I mean crooked gambling, such as bottom deals, second deals, all these moves that have been attributed and taken from the gambling scene and inserted into common everyday card tricks. Now, again, the benefit is that if a magician messes up, he doesn't get his fingers broken. Now, of course, in recent times, we have people like Bill Malone, Harry Lorraine, which is really not so recent. He's pretty ancient. We also have Michael Vincent. We have Gregory Wilson. We have David Williamson. We have a load of magicians who have added to the card magic scene. And there's magicians every day popping up, showing up in books, DVDs, and videos, all up until today. Now, card magic is really founded on the shoulders of giants, as we've attributed these moves from early on gambling onto modern magic today. So it's very interesting to see where magic is going. And you even see the aforementioned growth of cardistry today, which has been drawn in roots from card manipulation all the way from the 1600s. So next time you pick up a deck of cards, don't just take it as what it is. Realize that there's history in these puppies. There's history inside of each and every single deck of cards. And even if the deck is designed to look slightly aged, know that there has been centuries of work put in to all the moves that you take for granted. So think about that next time you pick up your deck and start with your favorite card trick. So that's a little brief look at the history of card magic. I'm going to start doing this for more branches of magic, close-up magic mentalism. Hopefully it gives you guys a little bit of insight into the history and where these things came from. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you for being part of the Pig Cake Card Academy, and I hope to see you in the next video.